Everyone knows that feeling, wanting to experience more stories, but struggling to find the time. That's where Audible changes everything. With over 1 million audiobooks and Audible originals, there's a story waiting to spark anyone's imagination. Take The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, the gripping psychological thriller that's keeping listeners on the edge of their seats. Imagine unraveling its mysteries during your morning commute, or losing yourself in its twists and turns while doing household chores. That's the magic of Audible. It transforms daily routines into opportunities for thrilling discoveries. The best part? Members get access to thousands of included titles, with new content added regularly. From bestsellers to hidden gems, every genre imaginable is at their fingertips. And with one easy-to-use app, switching between favorites or discovering new passions has never been simpler. There's more to imagine when you listen. Start a free 30-day Audible trial and get your first audiobook free at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Now it's time for Inspirational Women, and my guest, Susan Wiggs, a New York Times #1 best-selling author, and she's from our own Puget Sound area, because it is home to Susan now. Susan has authored over 70 books. That's amazing. And she continues to follow her passion and provide us with wonderful stories and great escapes. Today, Susan joins us to share some insights into her newest novel, The 12 Dogs of Christmas. Yes, a perfect book for the season, a perfect escape on a gray autumn day. So let's find out more about this special book. Susan Wiggs, good morning, and thank you so greatly for being with us today.
I always love talking to you, Kate. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am so excited. It's always fun to connect with you because there's great stories and adventures to talk about. And of course, the reason we're here is because you do have a new book, and it's very exciting here in, as winter is about to start and all the holiday season. It's a real perfect one, isn't it?
I have a Christmas book out. How crazy is that? I don't consider myself like a traditional Christmas author, that has a new Christmas story every year. But this year, I sneaked one out, and I'm so pleased with it. I'm so pleased with the reader feedback because it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart. It's the 12 Dogs of Christmas. It's about dog rescue and falling in love and having mishaps in the snow. And I couldn't be happier with it.
Well, all of that is within the covers of this amazing book. Such a wonderful story. And you said it's a topic near and dear to your heart. So you said, you don't typically come out with a Christmas book, so it's not necessarily the Christmas theme. So I'm going to guess it might have to do with the dog theme.
Yes. It was kind of a perfect storm because, commercial publishing, my publisher, HarperCollins, is all in it to make, bestsellers and to make readers happy. And so they came to my editor and they said, we think Susan should have a Christmas book out. It's been 10 years. I have had a previous Christmas book or two, but it was a long time ago. And they said, not only that, and this is the way commercial minds work, the sales department, this is not the editorial department, but the sales department said, look, there was a Christmas book out a couple years ago that sold like hotcakes, and it had a dog on the cover. So we think Susan should do a Christmas book, and we'll put a dog on the cover. And I said, well, the funny thing, the Christmas book with the dog on the cover was by Debbie Maycomber. So maybe don't you think she had something to do with how come it sold like hotcakes? And so we kind of had a laugh about that. But I said, there is something that I would love to write about. And because I had just gone through this process and kind of discovered some things about dog rescue, pet rescue, is that it's a whole subculture. There's a whole thing going on where the fascinating bit that I wasn't very familiar with, but I am now, is that you can adopt a dog, far away in Texas and have it shipped to you in Louisiana. And this is something that started back during Hurricane Katrina, that disaster years and years ago. And there were so many stray pets and homeless pets after that the local area just couldn't support them all. It couldn't absorb the dogs and cats that needed homes. So they started this practice of, rounding up dogs, putting them in a van or on some sort of transport, and taking them to communities where there are not that many available dogs, and that's usually in the north, the northeast, the Pacific Northwest. And so I found an outfit in Texas that only sends their dogs to Portland and Seattle. And you meet your prospective adoptee on a Zoom call and fall in love. Of course, we fell in love with little Doug. He's a Chihuahua wiener dog mix. And I know. And we just couldn't resist him. And so we arranged to have him brought up on this pet transport. And it's a few $100s, but well worth it for the care that the transporters offer the dog. And it was almost like making a drug deal. They said, be at this parking lot in Olympia at 2:00 and have your ID ready and your receipts and everything. And sure enough, it actually was like a cute drug deal because all the families were there. We were all waiting for our dogs, and they threw open the doors to this, I guess it was a Sprinter van or a transit van or something like that. And there were just like a dozen dogs in there, and big, small, puppies, older dogs, you name it. And we all got a dog to take home that day. And it was just such a heartwarming experience. And I kind of bonded with the foster mother and Doug and his sister Daisy, who we got from a more local area in Gig Harbor. We got them both the same week. And they're very similar dogs, but they're not related. Anyway, they're both really, really good dogs. And I know because I've had bad dogs. And I think that the reason is that they were never in a shelter. They were only ever fostered in like somebody's home. And so his Doug's foster mom, a woman named Brenda in Texas, we just kind of corresponded, emailing or texting or whatever. And I got to know her a little bit, and I ended up making her the heroine of the 12 Dogs of Christmas. And so my publisher they said, we want a dog on the cover. And I said, how about 12 dogs? And if you see a copy of the book, you can see it online or in the bookstores. It's got the finished book. I hope do they send you a finished copy with the whole book jacket on it? I can't remember what they sent you. Anyway, the one with the book jacket, because they sent me the book cover, and I said, this is hands down the cutest book cover that you've ever put on a book. It's so cute. And I said, but there's only 8 dogs on the cover. And they said, well, we're going to wrap it around the back and put all the dogs on the cover, because they were very excited about the book, too, because it's such a classic rom-com, Kate. I was quite shameless. I was quite shameless in making it just romantic and funny. Everybody's got a problem to solve in the book, but it's not a big, traumatic, serious book problem like many of my books have. And the other thing is that here's another little tidbit about commercial publishing. It was just really tight because when you do a Christmas book, there's only a certain time of year that you can have it published,
Of course.
And it has to be October, November, December, because that's the selling season. The sales kind of fall off a cliff after Christmas, and so they have to try to bunch all the sales in those 3 months before Christmas. And so I was on a real tight deadline. And so I thought the only way I'm going to accomplish this is if I get totally involved in the story and make myself laugh. And so that's pretty much what I did from the beginning to end. And I managed to get the book out in time, get it finished in time. They put like I said, the cutest cover I've ever had, hands down. And it's out and about, out in the world. And it's been so much fun hearing from book lovers and readers, dog lovers and book lovers, because I've discovered that a lot of book people love dogs.
Yes, I think that definitely has a way of going hand in hand, and this is such a wonderful book. I have loved it. The story is so engaging. I'm glad you laughed through it and had such delight with it, because I think that really jumps off the page and brings lots of smiles into our own hearts.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I think there's really only two Christmas stories that we tell again and again and again, and that is either Gift of the Magi, where, both parties sacrifice something for the greater good, or Scrooge.
Yes.
And so this one is definitely Scrooge because it's funnier. We have Brenda, the main character, who just, she's had it with Christmas. She's had horrible experiences at Christmas time. She's like, I'm never doing Christmas again. I'm going to escape. I'm going to run away. I'm going to drive this van load of dogs from Texas to Avalon, New York, and drop them off and just totally miss Christmas. And so that's her plan. And, of course, as in all rom-coms, the plan goes awry, and she finds herself in a little tiny village, snowy village in the Catskills that is like all about Christmas. It's like Leavenworth up around us.
Yes.
in Washington.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and even though she can be that kind of little Scroogella type of character, she's really a wonderful person, and I think there are many parts of her that all of us could relate to, at least at some point in our lives. But she loves dogs, so she is definitely good people.
Well, that's right. I know. She is Scrooge, but, throw in a dog that she adores and would do anything for. And, of course, she's got the kooky sidekick best friend, Dolly, who is driving the dogs with her. And, Dolly adds further humor and complications. And I also included what my editor likes to call an Easter egg for readers. And that is that when you kind of hide a little bit of insider info in a book for readers, and it was that the story takes place in Avalon, New York, and that is my little made-up town where all of my series, The Lakeshore Chronicles, takes place.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
If you got like a familiar vibe of that place, it's because I wrote 11 books that all take place in that town. And as I was dreaming up, where is Brenda going to drive these dogs to, I thought, of course, the snowy Catskills town is just tailor-made for that. So, indeed, that's what we did.
Well, isn't that fun? And have you had that kind of fan mail regarding that? People letting you know they found that?
Yes, they said, I've been waiting and waiting for the next Lakeshore Chronicles book, and here it is, and it stars Adam. Adam is he's the paramedic who, of course, is, the most awesome love interest, and he was just a secondary character in some previous books, and I'm sure readers, longtime readers, were probably intrigued by him, and so he gets to have an appearance, and we get to kind of meet him and see what's going on with him, kind of catch up with this world that I built years and years ago that readers have kind of kept alive. I'm really grateful for that.
Oh, absolutely. And then it just adds that layer of delight in it, too, is to reconnect, because these characters really take hold in our heart, in our minds, and we want to know what's going to happen with them. And, you're the one who brings them to life. So thank you, Susan Wiggs.
Oh, thank you, Kate, for saying that. It takes me back to the books that I loved when I was a kid and a young reader, and I would just glom onto these books that came in a series, and they felt like family members. So yeah, thank you for letting me know that.
Yeah. Oh, you bet. And what's fun about that too is that piece of you comes through in Brenda, where she's this aspiring writer and wants to put that on the printed page for kids. So it's wonderful again to weave that into the story.
Oh, see, and that's another writer's trick. If you have some working writers who listen to your show, and that is when I have a real tight deadline, I try to save time on things like doing research. And so instead of giving her a job that I had to do a deep dive and research and interview people and figure out what her day was like and, how things went for her, I realized I don't have time for that, but I do know the ins and outs of a job in publishing. And so I made her an aspiring writer. And that was fun for me, too, because it kind of took me back to those days. Nobody wants to pay you to be an aspiring writer. And so you kind of scramble to either have a patron of the arts or, give yourself a legit job to make a living while you're trying to, find your footing in publishing. And so I kind of accessed that part of me that, I was such a striver. I was so determined from like grade 3 on that I was going to be a writer and I was going to publish my books. And so it's kind of cool that eventually, thanks to readers and a lot of hard work and a lot of sweat and tears and also joy, I got myself to this place. So that was kind of a pleasurable part of the book, as I was able to access something that was so real to me.
And you made that so real in Brenda, too, because she struggles with being a writer. So that's not just some made-up thing. You've been in that place. Right. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And when her new friend, who happens to be a really good creative editor and a consultant to New York publishers, had that hard conversation, and she was like, "Look, Brenda, you've got some skill here. You're a good writer, but this is not doing it. You're holding back." And it reminded me that was kind of the mountain that I had to climb. Is when you first start out, it's very intimidating to write from your heart and to expose yourself on paper, and so you tend to hold back. And of course, in the book, that was Brenda's big issue, is that she was not putting her heart on paper in a way that is going to resonate with readers. And so it was a good exercise for me to go back to me, 37 years ago, actually, trying so hard to figure out this writing game and realizing that just like Dorothy at the end of Wizard of Oz, the power was in me all the time. I just had to believe hard enough that, the universe would not collapse if I let it all out.
Yes. And that is so key. That runs really through the entire novel. And there's a really great line that Adam makes I noted it because I thought, this is so key to us in our life. There's a bigger risk in not taking the chance. And look how that applies,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you for pointing that out. You're like the ideal reader. You like highlight things and remember things.
Well, and it must be the English teacher in me who just kind of takes note of these things. But it's fun to see how it all weaves together. And so in doing this, and you were saying you were saving time by having Brenda be an aspiring writer. You said how you had that time frame that you had to produce this book, The 12 Dogs of Christmas. So how long did you actually take in writing it?
You know what? I would say from start to finish, and of course there's always other writing things that go on, because I had a book out, Welcome to Beach Town, we talked about earlier this year, and so I was working on promoting that and, doing all that kind of stuff concurrently. But I would say start to finish, I'm thinking like 5 months. And for me, that's super fast. Yeah. For most people, it's super fast. There are some writers who can, toss it off like that. But I think it's a 75,000 word book. A full-length novel is about 100,000 words. It's about 75,000 words. And that was me just writing every day. Oh, I remember, you know what, Kate? I was in Germany writing it. I had scheduled a trip to Berlin to do some research for another book that is in progress, I guess. And I was in Berlin, and I remember I opened my notebook because I write all my books out in longhand first before I ever commit them to the computer. And I opened it up, my brand new fresh notebook, and wrote chapter 1, 12 Dogs of Christmas. And yeah, so that was, that was September. Yep, I think I took about 5 months. And then my editor, God, she's a rock star. She had to take her kids on spring break, like the day that I turned it in. And she literally had 12 hours to like turn it around. And she sat up like, half the night, and she edited the whole book and got it back to me for my revisions. And I remember being very shocked by that and very impressed. So hats off to hardworking editors, too.
Oh, no kidding. We don't even necessarily think of it unless we're in that business. But that seems like a rock star.
It is. And another thing about my editor, we're friends. She's married to a lovely the poet Taylor Molly, and they have 2 little kids. I think they're like 5 and 7 now, and they love to come visit me every summer because Bainbridge Island is lovely in the summer, and we have a nice guest house that's really great for kids, and they just love to come to the beach, and we always spend like a weekend every summer together. And so her kids, of course, fell in love with my dogs, and they went home this last summer. We were just talking about the book, and I had just, we had finished all the business on the book, and her kids were dying for a dog, and they adopted a puppy when they got home, and named him Piglet. And so I put a picture of Piglet on my Instagram feed with my editor's little daughter, and it got, I think, the most likes of any picture like this whole year. So if your readers want to be bowled over by cuteness, they can go to my Instagram feed. It's Susan_Wiggs_ on Instagram, and feast their eyes. There's so many pet pictures, because the other thing that my publisher's doing right now is they're doing a pet photo contest where you send in a photo of your dog with the book, with the 12 Dogs of Christmas, like posed with the book somehow. And they're going to do a drawing, and you can, I don't know, that you win a Susan Wiggs library or something. And so I think those are starting to come in this week. So prepare for lots of really cute dog pictures.
Well, and that's good to know that that's happening, because, we have a lot of dog lovers. I think Washington seems to be like a haven for people who love dogs. So
we're good to our dogs here. And I'm grateful to anybody who would rescue a dog. I mean, and some of them are so challenging. Some of them are, they come from bad backgrounds, or they're elderly or something. And anybody who would open their home. In fact, shout out to, I had an event yesterday at Litchfield Books. It was in Pawleys Island, North Carolina or South Carolina. So, and after the luncheon that I spoke at and did a signing, they went back to the bookstore and had an adoption event for senior dogs.
Oh,
I know, right?
Yes, exactly.
So heartwarming.
Absolutely. Yeah, having within the last year, needing to put a dog to rest, the fact that someone takes in an elderly dog and that it's going to be a shorter time you spend with them,
Yep.
Huge kudos to them for being so vulnerable and accepting and loving.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, it can't be easy. I've done it myself. I think the dogs in this event were age 6 and up. And so, you don't get to keep it as long, but they need love too. They need home too.
Yes, absolutely. So, yes, big hearts and dogs that just really, I believe, based on my personal experience, make us into better people.
They do. They do.
Right?
You
Yes.
want to be that person that your dog actually thinks you are.
Yes.
You know, the dog will stand up and holler every time you walk in the room, and it's really heartwarming.
So on the cover and wrapped around the back, and I only do have the advanced proof copy, so I only see
Okay.
the front. But you were telling us that all 12 dogs are there. Where did they get these dogs? I mean, it looks so authentic. I was thinking,
It does, I know, and it looks like they did a photo shoot, but with the way the refinements of Photoshop and artificial intelligence, I think they just created the cover as a collage, but it looks pretty seamless. They do a good job making the scene look authentic, and so I do think that they picked. Of course, I sent them pictures of my dogs and my past dogs. Oh, look how cute! And they weren't able to use any of mine, but the finished copy also has a precious little Chihuahua on the spine, and I did have, one of the best dogs I've ever had was Lenny the Chihuahua, and so he did make the cut. But no, I think they just found some really sweet, cute dogs to decorate the cover of my book. And like I said, I have had my ups and downs on cover art, and cover art is so key to the sales pattern of a book. It's really, really got to grab the reader and speak to the right reader and say the right thing about the book. And this one, it's one of those covers that you look at and you say, oh, I know what this is. This is a heartwarming rom-com about Christmas and dogs. And that's pretty much it, isn't it?
It is, but it's a big story, and we get to just revel in this wonderful small town of the village of Avalon. And what could be better than, on these dark, wet days of November here in the Puget Sound?
I know, yes. Yeah, we've been through it weather-wise in the last few days, haven't we?
We have. But, that's the cycles of nature, and I appreciate having the moisture because we've been sort of in a drought period, so this is good.
Well, not only that, it's like the perfect time to curl up with a good book.
Yes.
And who doesn't want to do that?
Yes. So light the fire in the fireplace or turn on the gas and have that fireplace and just curl up with this wonderful book. And so I'm going to go back to what you said earlier about Debbie Macomber and her book about dogs, but she gives a great acclamation here about this book. Says, don't miss this charming Christmas tale of thawing hearts, escaping dogs, and finding home. I couldn't help digging into this book with both paws.
I know.
So cute.
She's so good. She's, you know what? She's like the perfect writer. She's a friend to it. She's really talented in her own right. And she's just so generous with her praise for other writers. And also she's like any writer that I know, successful writer, we're all avid readers, Ask any working writer, when you're not writing, what are you doing? Oh, well, I'm reading a book.
Of course, yes, because the stories just really need to be alive in us all the time. And words, I don't know, we just need to be filled with words.
I know, Kate. I'm waiting for you to finally take a breath and start writing your story.
Well, that's interesting. The story that came to me kind of in the last years of my mother's life was asking her to talk about her life. And, and I have those notes, and sadly she's not with us anymore. So I have to kind of just live with that. So, and my family does keep bugging me about getting that. So that
you're
won't.
a natural storyteller. It's one reason that you've been so successful with this show is that you're a natural storyteller. You know how the rhythm of a narrative works, and I fully expect that one day we're going to see a story from you. I think we should.
Well, gosh, that is really incredibly kind and generous of you to say so, Susan. Who knows,
No, I'm a reader. I want to read your story.
Well, I will certainly have to give that more thought. Thank you. Yes. But in the meantime, here we have a beautiful book. At the right time of year,
now.
It's in stores, so check out your local favorite bookstore. That's great. We want to support our local bookshops. That would be absolutely perfect. This is a season, and also part of the season is gifting. It's a great gift for this season.
Ooh, good idea.
Right?
Yes, I like that idea.
Absolutely. So keep all of that in mind. And Susan, of course, you have your website. You mentioned your Instagram, so let's mention that once again.
Well, they can. You know what? The simplest thing is to go to SusanWiggs.com,
okay.
And there are the little icons at the top: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. Choose your poison, and you can click that, and it will click you through to your social media of choice. And the one that I'm probably most active on, because it's the simplest for me, is Instagram. I love to take pictures. I love looking at pictures. And so that's the one where you'll meet Doug and Daisy in person, or look at a video of epic rain that we're having. So there's, plenty of things to play with on your phone while you're standing in line or whatever. It seems to be what I tend to do.
Plus, there is that wonderful kind of contest going on presently, so that's another good reason, right?
Yes, you'll find links to that, and you can sign up for my newsletter or whatever. But I'm excited to see what the contest yields, the drawing for the pictures with the dogs in the book. Excited for that.
Absolutely. Well, this has been delightful. It's always, of course, so much fun to talk with you. And I just love all the wealth of the background you shared with us with this book, with the 12 Dogs of Christmas, where it's a must-read for this season. It's great fun and heartwarming. So, Susan, thank you so greatly for your talent in bringing us wonderful stories and, of course, taking time with us today.
Thank you, Kate. I always love talking with you, and sit down and write that story one of these days.
Okay, I'm listening, Susan. That brings us to the end of a very full hour of Inspirational Women with Susan Wiggs and Sunday Morning Magazine with Dr. Jonathan Howard. I'm Kate Daniels, your host, and I greatly appreciate your sharing this hour with me and these special guests. For details you might have missed or information you'd like to know, please just send me an email, kated@warm1069.com, and I will get right back to you. Also, if you'd like to listen again or to share these important stories with your family and friends, find the podcast on our Warm 1069 webpage. Just click on the podcast tab, then either of the show names, and then look for the guest names. I now wish you and your family a day of finding hope and purpose in your personal way. Have a week of the same, and then please plan to join me again next weekend for another hour of Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women on Warm 1069. Good morning.